there were other women in the newsroom, and we formed what we called the Ladies Terrorist Society. And we would get together periodically because we did talk a lot about discrimination, what seemed to us to be discrimination in news assignments, and the fact that there were very few women. Interestingly enough, one of my good friends started out as a reporter, got her journalism degree, worked briefly as a reporter. She started out as a reporter when she was in journalism school, and then she went on to become general counsel for the newspaper. So she was a person who was in a position to make a difference in how women were treated, and she often did make suggestions and impose things that did make it easier for the women in the newsroom. Early on, I interviewed Florence Kennedy, who was an African-American woman who was involved with the founding of NOW, I believe, and the feminist movement. And she was also very involved in the civil rights movement. And she was a black woman who was a lawyer. She went to Columbia Law School. And I interviewed her, and she had a tremendous impact on me because she was bawdy and rather racy in her language, but immensely quotable. And I will never forget interviewing her because she, at the time, one of the issues that the feminist movement was dealing with is feminism more important than racism? Should we put our energy on ending racism before we put our energy on ending feminism? And there was this kind of tug and push and pull, and certainly for African American women, it was probably difficult to know where to put their energies. And Flo Kennedy put that issue to rest for me because she basically thought that the racism was a bigger problem than the sexism, and I think she pretty much convinced me that was probably the case. Although it's really all the same thing, isn't it? It really is. Well, the idea that there was a group of women journalists who specifically identified themselves as feminists was really powerful for me. Because even though there were other women in the newsroom, most of the time during my career at the Des Moines Register, I was the one who was pegged as the feminist in the newsroom most of the time. I used to sit by this one very veteran reporter who was a terrific reporter, but he was a guy who was stuck in the 50s. And I used to say, I'm giving you some consciousness raising lessons, because he could never fathom the idea that women sports events would attract enough of an audience to be financially viable. And he was, again, we're all kind of trapped in our own times, I think. And the only way out of any trap that we're born into is to be able to recognize that you are trapped, and that you have been trapped, and that you can get out of it. So I was, again, often lonely in the newsroom for other feminists after my original cohort of colleagues left. So in 1986 or 87, it just seemed like a breath of fresh air.